Welcome in, welcome back, welcome to Stream-of-Unconsciousness, where the subject's made up and the words don't matter, and we smack the camera quite often and knock it out of frame and focus, which is always good, right? If you enjoy these inane ramblings, please feel free to leave a like, leave a comment. I love the engagement. Subscribe if you think I'm talking about things that are of interest to you, because I know they're of interest to me. If you're anything like me, and I know I am, they might be of interest to you. Today I thought we'd talk about something slightly different that covers a couple of different topics. I have a number of Hasslefree miniatures, and the weird thing is, because these aren't even all of them, I've got a number of them on display here. For as many as I have actually not painted that many of them, and I think part of it is Kev White, who sculpts for Hasslefree, he and his wife own the company. Very, very good sculptors, and a lot of work for a lot of really big name companies as well as his own, and a very good sculptor. And I think, honestly, as much as I loved the sculpts, because I bought a number of them over the last decades, I think my own painting skill caused me to be intimidated by painting those figures and doing them justice. So that's not so much anymore. Whether I've gotten better or just stopped caring is really debatable. But at one point I had bought a number of sort of James Bond-esque or adjacent figures. As you can see, I've got a few here that are, if you look, squint and look real close and try to ignore, IP, these are very similar to characters from a television show called Archer, which is about spies. If you've ever seen Archer on FX, this one as well is very similar to Archer from that TV show, Sterling Archer. This one appears to me to be sort of George Lazenby-esque. And again, Kev does really good about making stuff that's very similar to intellectual property that's out there, to give people the enjoyment of painting something that's close without actually having run over someone else's IP. He does a very good job with that. And as you can see, there's some Doctor Who minis back here that he has sculpted, as well as a sci-fi type pilot that I'd painted did I paint that last year? That I couldn't decide if it was more based on Linda Hamilton. That jacket is not showing up very well on this camera, is it? There we go. More based on Linda Hamilton or more based on someone else, and I sort of split the difference again. But one of those figures that I had bought at the time was this one, which I thought was more Daniel Craig-esque. And that's how I was going to paint it. But when I started looking at the figure, focus! When I started looking at the figure, I was like, you know what? There are shades of Lee Marvin about that figure. Now, is it a dead ringer for Lee Marvin? It is not. But there was enough there that it could go either way, really, for me, between Daniel Craig and Lee Marvin. And I remember messaging Kev about it, and his response was, I don't remember. So there you go. Do with it what you will. So I decided to paint it up. There was a webcomic that I had read years ago, and I knew that the name of the comic was something of Digger something, and I couldn't find it again was the problem. But I remembered it being sort of the art being based on Lee Marvin, and it happening. I think the first story happened in Florida, and there was an image of, a drawing basically of a Lee Marvin-esque character wearing a Hawaiian shirt. And I thought, you know what? That would be very interesting, to me anyway. So I ended up painting this figure wearing a Hawaiian-style shirt, which I think, for never having painted a Hawaiian-type shirt before, I think it turned out reasonably well. It's a sort of waves and flowers design. It's not one of the really, really loud shirts, but this is what I wanted, and I did a little extra sculpting on the base to try and make it look like he's standing on a beach where the tide has just gone out. But I thought, this will be this would be kind of cool. And I really wanted to find that webcomic again because like I said, I couldn't remember exactly what it was called. And I wanted to just sort of verify it against my memories. And happened to find it. It's no longer available because they put it all into sort of a graphic novel or trade paperback, if you will. And it was ever meant to be a limited thing anyway. And it's actually called Gravedigger. Christopher Mills and Rich Burchett. So, as you can see, very clearly based on Lee Marvin. The book itself, I'm going to scroll a little bit. Oh, that's zooming in. Dimmy. There we go. Zoom out a tiny bit so you can get a little bit more of a look at the cover of this thing. So, again, that's clearly I didn't match the same kind of Hawaiian shirt that was demonstrated, but the comic itself is in black and white. And I went looking for it, found out that it was, again, no longer online, but they had made a trade paperback or graphic novel out of it. And I thought, you know what, I'll try and find one. Now, it is a little bit difficult to find in physical form. When I purchased this one, from the place I purchased this from, this was advertised as the last physical copy, but you can still get digital copies, pretty sure. Check your favorite purveyor of comic type things, up to and including Amazon, if that's where you feel you need to go. I don't judge people for that because some places you just can't get the things you need without having to go to the Buroligarchs. So, but yeah, it's very interesting. I got it recently, and I wanted to review the interior stories because I hadn't read them in a while, and I don't think I've actually read all of there are 3 stories in here. There's some very good splash pages. It's got the Predators part 1 and 2, and I think the Survivors is the 3rd story. But what I found interesting about this, aside from the art is very good, is that when you start reading the actual comic itself, they did a very interesting thing in that the entire thing is landscape. Like, not just the splash page, but the entire book is set up landscape, which I appreciate so much because it gives them so much more room for the art. You see, it's more of a hitman story than a detective story, really. It's not that much of a hitman story. It's mostly this Lee Marvin character named Gravedigger, or called Digger by those people that know him, escaping from various trials and setups. But it's a little bit noir, at least the first one is, in the way that it's painted out, which I enjoy. There's a lot. I'm going to skip ahead here a little bit. I want to go through the whole thing, but yeah, it's got some very interesting artwork. I think it's very well done. The 3rd story, which I said is the Survivors, and I will take this off camera briefly to flip to that one. The Scavengers. Excuse me. The Scavengers, a short self-contained story, is that the style is a bit more simple. Like the splash page is still very good, but not that the art is bad. It's just in a slightly different style, while still being very true to what the comic has established before. So, but yeah, they're good stories if you like that sort of thing. They're very the dialogue and the scripting in them honestly reads very, very much like something that would have come out around the time Lee Marvin was alive and doing these kind of movies. So bear that in mind. But yeah, it's really good. I really enjoy this purchase. I recommend people checking it out if they want. And checking out more of Christopher Mills' work and Rick Burchett's art. Or maybe I have that backwards. You know what? Let's check. Sometimes I get confused. So we will say... There we go. There we go. This book contains explicit language and extreme bad guy on bad guy violence. There we go. And I didn't want to mess up the thing. So I'm not going to find it in the information the way I wanted. So yeah, it came out originally, I guess, as comics, but yeah. Anyway, yeah. So just bear in mind explicit bad guy and bad guy violence, and some salty language. So yeah. So there we go. That was that whole thing was the inspiration behind this paint job. I would link Hasslefree down below, but their website is having some issues, unfortunately. So I would send you there if I could, but unfortunately I cannot right this moment. But I would oh, there we go, smacking the camera again. I would definitely recommend when you're able to go through Hasslefree's work. They have a lot of really, really good miniatures, not just these spy versions that I got, but also fantasy, sci-fi, all kinds of stuff. So, and also, check out Gravedigger and or any of the other work from these two gentlemen. I really enjoyed this book, and I'm glad that I purchased it when I did. And I think on that note, we will leave it for today, and we will see you next time.